The Democrats' mood shift. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Oh, what a difference 24 hours makes. Yesterday, Democrats and their media allies were positively giddy, using phrases like blockbuster revelation, bombshell leak, and impeachment game changer. Well, they were sure that a story about John Bolton's new book would be enough to convince 4 Republicans to keep this twisted trial going. But today, after the Trump defense team wrapped up its arguments, even yielding back time to the Senate, the mood on the left seems to have, well, shifted. Or should I say it, atom shifted.
I was more optimistic yesterday morning than I am now. I talked to some of my colleagues last night. The sort of feeling that I was getting was that they're linking arms and they're going to say no.
Right now, the Republicans feel good. The White House feels good.
The universe of Republicans, it hasn't really expanded.
So you anticipate that they're going to vote against witnesses?
I bet predictions are dangerous,
right,
especially when they're about the future, but it seems unlikely.
Oh, boy, and the faces weren't just sad over at CNN. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, as they say, Chuck Schumer's face read like a Solzhenitsyn novel. A lot of pain and suffering there. And on the witnesses question, does he sound like a man whose party is winning?
One at a time.
What do you think? Bottom line, sir, do you believe that we're going to get witnesses?
Look, I hope that we have just 4 Republicans, all we need is 4, who rise to the occasion and say we need to find out the truth.
Whoa. Can we re-rack that again, please?
One at a time.
I've been looking for a new ringtone, and that's a good one. But wait, what about the faces of the House managers after the White House counsel finished his argument? They put in all that time and effort trying to take the president out of office. Were they brimming with optimism? Well, only in the land of fraudulent impeachments would the lead House manager complain that the other side didn't spend more time arguing their case.
I want to begin this afternoon with a few observations on the rather abrupt end to the president's case. It's clear, I think, today that they are still reeling from the revelation of John Bolton's book and what he has to say.
Wait a second. You're complaining that the other side didn't use all their time. And then he grasped at another irrelevant straw. Something that John Kelly said at a speech in Florida?
The president's own former chief of staff, General Kelly, has stated that he believes John Bolton. The president's own former chief of staff believes John Bolton and by implication does not believe the president of the United States.
Okay, I have a question. Do the Democrats really think this was going to work? That they were going to be able to invalidate the last election and steal this next one by just simply citing public statements of former White House staffers? And without the defense team turning the tables on the House managers themselves?
By these actions, you would undo the free election that expressed the will of the American people. You will damage the faith the American people have in this institution and in the American democracy.
You will reap the bitter harvest of the unfair partisan seeds you sowed today. There must never be a narrowly voted impeachment. Such an impeachment will produce the divisiveness and bitterness in our politics for years to come.
My fear is that when a Republican wins the White House, Democrats will demand payback.
Now, even the resistance media had to admit that using the Democrats' own words against them, well, it worked.
I thought it was an effective set of zingers, and I bet the Republicans really enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah, it was awkward because a lot of what these Democrats were saying then, and he specifically included at least 2 of the House managers, Jerry Nadler and Zoe Lofgren, they say the opposite today.
Yeah, that's called turning the tables on the wolf. So now the liberal media was basically just left clinging to their new lifeboat. And then they merely echoed what Schiff had said earlier about Kelly.
Former White House Chief of Staff John Kelly says that he believes John Bolton's claim. Kelly also said He thinks Bolton is a man of integrity and should be heard from.
Now, last time I checked, General Kelly, I like him. I think he's a great guy, but he's not a senator who gets to vote on in witnesses, Jake. But I think someone needs to send that memo to Jerry Nadler as well.
Who are the witnesses your side will be seeking?
Well, John Bolton, certainly. Maybe now John Kelly.
Have you discussed the idea of calling General Kelly with other managers or senators?
No.
Okay. So John Kelly, a guy who hasn't even been at the White House for over a year, now he's going to save the Democrats' impeachment crusade? Well, okay. If that doesn't work, they always have the Quinnipiac poll.
Believe me, that's an intense caucus going on right now. They're all listening to each other.
What's the chances they've seen the new 75 number from Quinnipiac?
I say pretty damn good. To deprive witnesses is utter insanity from a political perspective. You've only got, I think, 51 to 54% that are behind his immediate removal from office, but 75% around witnesses is political suicide.
But what they aren't telling you is that 97% of the GOP is opposed to removing Donald Trump from office. So those 4 moderate GOP senators who are wringing their hands tonight and navel-gazing the Hamlet routine, well, they should take note. Because this is how Donald Trump was received when a record crowd showed up when he took the stage at a rally in New Jersey tonight. So who exactly do these moderate senators think they're actually appealing to if it turns out they vote to prolong this impeachment farce? Are they appealing to those people? Or these people? Oh, yes, CNN, MSNBC, the panelists there, Chuck Todd, Jake Tapper, et cetera, et cetera. Look, they don't have the votes to remove Trump. Democrats don't have those votes. Everyone on television was conceding that today. So what is the point of doing this to the country? Well, as they did during the Kavanaugh fight, they just want to drag this out in hopes that the next news cycle will bring them some manna from heaven to damage the president before the first ballots are cast. Our reporter at the New Jersey rally tonight tells us that they're serving drinks called margaritas and subpoena coladas, very cheeky, all over Wildwood, New Jersey. Should these moderate Republicans vote to help Schiff, Pelosi, and Nadler prolong this national nightmare, there won't be enough booze in all of New Jersey to soothe the political pain coming their way. That will be political suicide. And that's the angle.